The Israel-Palestine conflict is a religious conflict between the Jews and Muslims. This is what we hear a lot from the media. Governments and media spokespeople have said this so often that it has become an accepted truth. The so-called conflict is presented as an ancient and bitter fight between two religions based on irreconcilable and mutual hatred. This is a convenient lie that lets the real sources of the issues off the hook: imperialism and colonialism. There is an irreconcilable conflict in the Middle East, but it is not one between different faiths. Rather, it is a struggle between imperialism, Israel on one hand, and the oppressed people fighting for liberation and progress on the other. At the very heart of this is Palestine. The Palestinian struggle is actually a struggle against Western colonialism. It has been this way from the beginning more than a century ago. As is the case with conflicts and world events, what is going on today in Palestine and the Middle East can only be understood in its historical context. The key event in reshaping the region was World War I, which was a war fought by empires for the purpose of redividing the world to suit their interests. It was the British and the French takeover and divisions of the areas as spoils of World War I that created the artificial boundaries of the modern Middle East. Syria and Lebanon became part of the French Empire. Iraq, Egypt, Jordan and Palestine were incorporated into the British Empire. The British and the French imperialists viewed the desire of the Arab people for the creation of one Arab state as a threat of their domination. A widespread revolt in 1920 against the new colonizers was crushed. Without the sponsorship of the British Empire, the Zionist colonial project could not have succeeded. 3 decades later, this project officially gave birth to the State of Israel. After World War II, the United States emerged as the dominant power in the region. Contrary to its false image as the beacon of democracy, the US has sought to destroy every progressive government and popular democratic movement in the region for over 60 years. The US has supported and sometimes installed the most reactionary monarchies and police states. The aim has been to clear all obstacles to the unrestricted exploitation of the region's vast oil resources, labor and markets while ensuring US military hegemony over the area. Today, the US occupies Iraq and Afghanistan while its bases and naval power dominates the Persian and Arabian Gulf. Israel plays a key role in the US government's strategy of regional domination. Over the past 40 years, the United States has sent billions of dollars in economic and military assistance to the small state of Israel annually, far more aid than it has sent to any other country or any other continent. In 2009, Israel got at least $2.5 billion in military aid from Washington without any conditions. Although Israel has a population of less than 7 million people, it has been built up into a nuclear armed power. It has repaid these generous gifts from the US by playing a vital role in the US strategy of regional and global domination. In the 1960s, the national liberation movement in the Middle East and the rest of the world saw Israel as a colonial settler state, a garrison that served the interest of imperialism. That description remains accurate even till today. One has to have a clear understanding of Israel's role in relation to US imperialism. Without such understanding, it is easy to adopt a skewed and misguided view of the entire struggle to liberate Palestine.